G'day and welcome to the Tune Up with myself, Nick Canizzo. Today I've got a very exciting car for you on the channel, a 2016 WRX STI, which is the last of an era, the last of the STIs, with the EJ25 engine that was produced 12 years earlier and first released on that bug-eye WRX. Has this car been upgraded over the years from that 12-year span to something that's evolved and mature? Or is it still that hooligan at heart, just with a little bit of a prettier face and a nicer interior? Let's go have a look and see what it's about.
Looks are subjective. Subaru have had a checkered history with making good-looking STIs. They've always stood out, but some of them only a mother could love. This is an aggressive and striking design that will either appeal to you or won't. Everything on it has a purpose. The prominent rear diffuser with Formula 1 inspired rain light, the cutouts behind the front wheels to allow turbulent air to escape, the enormous gaping air hole on the bonnet, and finally the hilariously large rear wing, which even NASA could be proud of. It's a cohesive design, however, and it's aged very well for being almost 10 years old.
Peace up, A-Town.
You don't buy an STI because of its interior, you buy it for how it drives. However, stepping inside the cabin of this premium V1 spec car, it's a nice place to be. Even if it is a little bit fast and furious with the red touches everywhere and STI branding on the cluster, the shift knob, the steering wheel, the seats, and everywhere else that they had spare room. But ultimately, this is a decently sized car that can fit a lot of adults front and back.
Let's see if I fit in the boot. I reckon there's a good chance. It's very large. Oh, there's plenty of room. Come join me. I don't know about the seats. I feel like I'm sort of sitting almost on top of them. Maybe I'm just too fat for them. But I sort of feel like I'm sitting a little bit up, and I don't sink into them all the way, like through the shoulders. But I think that's just because I'm a bit fat. Visibility in here is fantastic. Like, you would think that the giant wing gets in the way, but it doesn't. It sits so high above the car that it actually doesn't get in the way at all.
Mostly I was interested in a replacement for my old Skyline, so I test drove a few Skylines.
Which Skyline did you have again?
I had the R34 GTT.
Ah, nice.
The Skyline I had got stolen, so I was pretty keen to
As does every Skyline.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Was it ever recovered?
The second time it got stolen, no. The first time, yes.
The second time
got stolen
it got
twice.
Stolen.
First time I got it back. The second time, not so lucky.
Did you think of investing in one of those wheel clamps?
You know, I wasn't really.
In hindsight.
Wasn't really thinking. In hindsight, yeah, I should have.
Well, you thought, well, how lightning can't strike twice, surely. Is there anything about this car you don't enjoy or don't like?
Yeah, given it's an older car, it doesn't really accommodate modern phones. So the convenience of...
No CarPlay.
No CarPlay. I don't want to change out the head unit. I'd like to keep that factory.
Yeah.
So no Android Auto, no Apple CarPlay. I have to keep a phone mount on the dash. But when I corner it hard, that thing flies out. I
did notice that. It ended up in the footwell at one point.
Yeah.
When you're driving slowly and normally in traffic, like, the clutch is real light, the gearbox is real smooth and easy to use. The steering's actually quite heavy, like it's just got a natural weight to it. There's quite a bit of road noise in here. Sort of picks up, you know, just from the tires, and any gravel that sort of hits the underside of the car certainly makes a lot of noise, not a lot of sound deadening.
Yeah, I wanted something that was track capable, but still comfortable enough to daily.
Yeah, okay.
So it's not the best track car and it's not the best daily car, but it's a really good blend of the two.
I have been tasked with opening this bonnet. Let's find out how difficult it can be. This feels like the first time I was intimate with a woman, trying to find the hole.
The EJ25 engine isn't what you'd call modern. Debuting in 1995, it's had a steady stream of updates since then, but in reality hasn't really changed all that much since the Blob-Eye STI was released in 2004. It produces 227 kilowatts and 393 newton meters of torque from its 2.5 litre turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, utilising Subaru's famous horizontally opposed boxer configuration, which gives it that unique exhaust note.
It's quick, it's brisk, but it's not brutal. The torque, the way that the power is delivered with this EJ25 engine, there's really not much power under like 3,500 RPM, and then the boost starts to come in. It's very old school, that single turbo, non-twin scroll, and then the power band between, like, say, 4 and 6 is great, and then after that starts to drop off again. It doesn't feel modern. It feels like an old school turbo car where you got to wait for the power to kick in, and then you get that boost, and then you've got that period of power, and then it falls away again. Speed in a straight line though, 0 to 100 comes up in about 5 seconds with a hard launch. With a normal launch, it doesn't feel doughy low down, not like a 3-cylinder GR Yaris or GR Corolla, but it's certainly not torquey down low.
It does have some drawbacks. Firstly, the turbo lag is definitely noticeable, unlike modern twin-scroll turbo cars. And these engines aren't exactly known for their reliability, especially when tuned. Piston failure, rod bearings, and of course, infamous Subaru head gaskets will go. And lastly, the fuel economy is shockingly bad, getting somewhere between 11 and 14 litres per 100 kilometres. And with the 60-litre fuel tank, that means you'll be filling up a lot.
I love the warble of a flat 4 boxer engine. Absolutely, I think it's fantastic. It doesn't feel contrived in this car. There's no cracks and burbles on the overrun, just natural engine noise. That flat 4 boxer note is so unique, and it's just got so much character. Everywhere throughout the rev range it sounds good. It doesn't drone or anything either. I think it sounds fantastic. This is Nick from the tune-up. It's bumpy, it's bumpy. I swear I didn't pick the bumpiest road in the world just for this car.
It's a bit stiff, and you know that has its pros and cons.
It certainly feels glued to the ground.
Yeah. As soon as I start talking.
Hi, my name is Jamie.
There's a big bump through here. Oh yeah, that's a big bump. That's not enjoyable. So what's interesting is the car didn't actually absorb that big bump mid-corner. It sort of just bounced the car over.
The suspension on this car actually feels like it belongs on a track, not on a road like this, which is weird for a rally car, a rally-inspired car. It feels, on smooth surfaces, it feels great, it grips and goes, but as soon as there's imperfections, the car just sort of bounces over the top of it. It's, it definitely feels more suited to a track. Oh! Okay, yep.
You really do feel those bumps.
My grandchildren felt that bump. Yes, it's really only when you're pushing on does the steering come alive and it starts to, you can feel everything it's doing, but at normal speeds it's sort of numb. But as soon as you start pushing on, it's like all the weight squats over the rear, so the front lightens up and then the steering becomes, more feelsome?
Feelsome.
Is that a word? In an effort to make the car sportier, they made the steering heavier, but it's actually just made it numb. It feels like you're sort of wearing 2 condoms. It's feel what's going on. It's not enjoyable.
Jesus.
So what I find interesting is coming into a corner, the car, it always wants to understeer. Its first reaction is understeer. If you bring it too much speed into a corner, it just pushes wide, which at first I was really disconcerted by that.
I had to learn how to drive this car when I first jumped into it, because originally I was driving it like many other cars where you sort of just carry speed into a corner and then you can power on sort of halfway through. This is the other way around. It's sort of carry less speed into the entry of the corner, rotate the car, and then get on the power nice and early. So then you use that all-wheel drive grip to sort of pull you out of the corner in a four-wheel drift. It feels really good when you get it right. This car really has 2 personalities. It's when you're driving around in normal mode and the diff's in normal mode and you're just sort of poodling along, it feels fine. It's not actually that exciting to drive, but it's agreeable and it's easy enough to drive. But for me, where this car really livens up is when you put it in Sport Plus or Sport Sharp, but it's the locking center diff. When you move all that power to the rear and it locks the diff, when you hammer it into a corner, instead of just sort of understeering and being safe and easy to drive, the rear of the car really comes around and it's trying to grip all four wheels, and it feels like that rally car that you want this car to feel like. So to have both of those personalities from just that dial is amazing. That's really good engineering.
The STI is a fast, fun, outlandish yet good-looking all-drive sports car that can carry your family to the shops and then head off to the track. In this modern world, buyers of new performance cars are a funny breed. In a car like this that can do it all, we want everything to be better than what has come before it. More comfort, quieter, more power, more features. But with all this more comes at a cost. And I don't just mean financial. It leads to increased weight, complexity, and disconnection from the driving experience that we all bemoan. What Subaru did here over a decade and a half was tweak what they needed whilst retaining all the charm of the original. Yes, the STI could have been made better in many ways, but it's the flaws that make this car so charming. It has a personality. In this modern world, where billionaires have their own space race, there's out-of-control inflation, overpopulation, war and disease that fill our news feeds every day, jumping into the STI and hearing that burbling, flat 4 whilst riding a wave of turbo shove is a refreshingly simple dose of nostalgia. This car is certainly not for everyone. And objectively, it's not even the best car in its class, as an Evo is far more precise and would munch it around any track and can still carry people around. But the STI is not trying to be a precision machine. What it is an antidote. An antidote for this mad, mad world that brings the simpler times of 2004 right into your fingertips.
Yeah, baby, make sweet love to that car. Oh yeah, you love it. Like out of a scene out of a horror movie here. No wave back, what rats.